Joining us now, Israeli Special Ops veteran Aaron Cohen, Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt. All right, I thought the announcement today, Aaron, was a really big deal. There was a bombardment, the likes of which people were pretty unfamiliar with. Over 1,000 separate attacks. Didn't get a lot of fanfare in the press. Then the Houthis attacked Ben Gurion Airport, and the Israelis hit their major airport much harder. They seem to have now just given up and given in. Is this an indicator of where things are going in the Middle East generally, especially Iran?
Yeah, those are good questions, Sean. I think that the pressure cooker campaign that the U.S. has been putting on the Houthis, combined with Israel's follow-up selective strikes, are speaking directly to Iran. And that's, again, the language that this whole region, it's the only language they understand. America hit Yemen hard, and it's been going on for weeks. And Iran's getting a taste of what this can look like, and Trump's not playing around. And I think that bleeds right into that Iranian nuclear program, which is Trump knows that Iran's trying to inch their way, Sean, towards nuclear-grade capabilities. It's not a secret, but what's even less of a secret is that the Middle East now understands that Trump is very clear, because he said it today, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. It's never going to happen. And if Iran tries to inch their way towards any centrifuge or any weapons-grade uranium or any secret sites or any secret places where that uranium can't be inspected, President Trump's not going to have it. And again, like we say in Hebrew, that's the language of the Middle East. And Trump is finally feared, which is the only way to deal with this region, Sean, on the macro picture. You've got to be strong. Otherwise, you're going to keep sneaking around and playing. But Trump making these announcements is finally setting a tone that's going to calm down and create that stability, in my opinion.
The president's been clear, as Aaron said, Hugh, that the Iranians must dismantle their nuclear weapons program, that they can never have a nuclear weapon. And he said he would even lead the effort to prevent it from happening, which you can interpret as he will take out their sites if necessary. The Iranians know we have the capability of doing it. They've been given an opportunity. They've been given a choice here. Marco Rubio on this very program brought up the issue that, okay, we've got to have American inspectors. They have to literally, get rid of their nuclear program. We'd need Americans observing this, and then anywhere, any place, anytime inspections to keep them honest. And if they want fuel rods, they can have those for a nuclear power facility that will be provided from outside the country. America seems to be willing to go in that direction. The question is, does the Iranian leadership get that? Do the mullahs get that? And the one danger, the one factor, there are a lot of bad actors that have nuclear weapons, but not people that believe in the ideology of convert or die, or a caliphate, or that if you kill the infidels, you're rewarded in heaven. That, to me, is the big distinction with Iran versus other countries, even bad countries.
Sean, you're right. They have an ideology which is not only fanatical, it doesn't mind end times. I'm sure Aaron would agree with that. The one thing President Trump seems to say every single day of his second term is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and that he will move if he has to support Israel in making sure that they can't build one. Every day. He says it probably twice a day on some days. So the messaging is very clear. When he wants to be very clear, he is very, very clear. He teased us today with this big announcement. I hope it's the Abraham Accords adding Saudi Arabia, and that would be fantastic. We have to wait and see. But the one thing he doesn't mess around with is the messaging to Iran. Ayatollah Khamenei must know he has a choice. Open up the doors, take out the centrifuges, let us smash them, turn over all the enriched uranium, dismantle it all, or we will do it for them, with or without Israel, though probably with Israel. And I think since Israel is the equal of any ally America has, probably with them, but it's the clearest message of a presidency that has a very emphasis on being clear with our enemies. It works. It's working very well.
Well, the one thing that can happen is they can't get nuclear weapons, especially not on Donald Trump's watch, and he's been clear. Aaron, thank you. Hugh, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.